All right, y'all, it's Tuesday, March 28th, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about on this week's episode of The Mitch Burrow Show. Okay, so let's get right into it. First of all, I want to thank everyone that has subscribed to the Patreon. You guys are what makes this happen. We got a few more this past weekend, and because of that, we were able to upgrade and get this nice studio mic for the show. Now, I'll be honest, it's not currently hooked up to anything because the other stuff costs money as well. But you know, I'm still using the lapel, whatever they're called, the one that hooks to your shirt. So the sound quality is still pretty good, and I was able to get this because of some of the patrons on Patreon as well. So thank you. This weekend, I had a lot of fun, man. My daughter and I, we went to a Jesus chili cook-off. One of my friends here in Wichita Falls, Texas, hit me up, asked me if I wanted to go to a chili cook-off, and I was like, yeah. And he was like, it's at the First United Church or something like that. And I go, hey man, that's fine. I don't dislike Jesus, so let's go. And it was a lot of fun. It was all dads, and some of the other dads had their kids there, and it was held on a basketball court, but everybody was white, so no one was embarrassing themselves by playing basketball. Plus, we're in Texas. A lot of these dudes are wearing cowboy boots. That's not good basketball footwear. But Billy's got this little Strider bike. It's like a bicycle, but it doesn't have pedals. And she was able to really open it up. And here's what I love about my kid. People can't believe she's doing what she's doing. I mean, she is almost 2 years old, and she has the physical acumen or whatever, the physical ability of like a 3 to 4 year old. She's got a pretty good vocabulary all the time, and people are surprised because I mean, her vocabulary is almost as good, if not better than mine, and people want to know how. And all I can really say is neglect is a really good way is a really good way to make your child independent. And I mean, I don't mean it in a bad way, but my wife and I, we don't baby her. We don't coddle her. You know, if she falls, we don't say anything until she reacts. If she just gets up and walks away, hey, good to go. If she starts crying, I'm there for you, baby. I'm gonna pick you up and comfort you. But we never did like she trips and we're like, oh, are you okay? Because that gets in her head, right? And I always got her toys that were a little bit too big for her and let her figure them out. And yeah, she got frustrated. You know, but she puts the puzzles together, you know, and we always talk to her like a grown-up, you know. We never did baby talk, and that has paid off a lot. My wife, every night when they go to bed, my wife is rocking her in the chair, and she'll say, "Did you have a great day today?" And then last night when my wife was putting her to bed, without saying that, our daughter goes, "Mommy, great day today." And she's just like, what? So it's really impressive. Now look, perhaps almost every toddler just under 2 years old behave. And when I say just under, it's like a week and a half, but she ain't 2 yet. But perhaps every one of them or most of them are this advanced or whatever. And I'm just thinking because she's my kid, you know, she's further along than the rest of them are. But I don't really care what other people think or what other kids are doing. My daughter impresses the shit out of me, and I gotta let her know. While we were at the Jesus chili cook-off, you know, my buddy was like, hey man, we're just gonna go eat some chili. And I was like, cool. And then like towards the end, this older guy comes down. He's like, hey, I want to see if we can get everybody upstairs. We're going to present the award for the winner. And my friend is like, I didn't know we were going to have to go upstairs. And prior to this, my wife's friend goes to that church, and my wife told her that they were taking me there, and her friend said, tell him to watch out, they're going to try and get him upstairs. And she was like, what's that mean? And she was like, oh, you'll see. So we go upstairs and we sit down, and my friend leans over and is like, hey man, I'm so sorry, I didn't know this was going to happen. And I was just kind of like, what are you talking about? And then they immediately go into 1 Kings chapter 17, talking about Elijah and how he had to fight against somebody, and then the woman Jezebel. And I got my daughter here, and let me just say this. The Bible is not kind to women. Okay, it makes them all sound like whores and Jezebels, I guess. And I don't necessarily want my daughter growing up getting those lessons, you know. But my friend, he's like, yeah, dude, we can leave if you want to. And I just go, man, did you think we were getting chili for free today? There's gonna be some Jesus thrown at us, and I'm okay with that. So we stuck around for a while, and then we hightailed it out of there. Again, I don't have a problem with Jesus. I just wish the stories were a little different. You know, they treated women a little better and things like that. And I'm not some feminist white knight. What was? Oh God, there's a word for it when you are trying to. First of all, I'm not a person with a good vocabulary. I think that's very clear. What is it called when you do something to get the points for it? You know, you're something something. You're something something. Virtue signaling. There we go. But look, I have a daughter, and I want her to grow up feeling confident and happy about herself. And I honestly think that if you follow the Bible, that can be a little bit difficult for women sometimes. So, yeah, whatever. We got some free chili out of it. We'll take a little Jesus along with the chili. After that, Sunday, we went to Dallas, and we went to a mall because my wife and I like the Nespresso pods. And it's the only place within 2 hours that we can get it. So we went there. I had a show later that evening, and I was there to perform with my friend Monica Nevi, who lives in Seattle, and I hadn't seen her probably in 4 years. When we got to the mall, we walked around. We went in through the Neiman Marcus entrance, and there should really be a warning sign or something that's like, hey, if you don't make $500,000 a year, go another way. There's so much stuff in there that I can't believe it's a real place. There's so much stuff that is just absurdly expensive that I'm like, who is this for? My wife showed me a necklace, and it was onyx? No, opal. The white one with like glitter in it, right? That's when she's like, that's my birthstone. So, I mean, just Google October birthstone. That's the one it was. And she goes, and you know, because Mother's Day is coming up, if you were wondering. And I looked at it, and it was $114,000. Or no, sorry. It was $41,000. And I was just, I go, this is more expensive than our car. I can't. I don't care if I get 20,000 patrons and I'm making 400 or 40,000. I don't remember what my highest thing is, but if I'm making, let's say I'm making $100,000 a month, I still ain't gonna buy a $40,000 necklace for nobody. That's insane. Pearls are a lot cheaper. I might buy like a couple $100 pearl necklace. But I ain't buying something that costs more than a car to wear around your neck. You move from the jewelry department, and then they have the toddler section. I'm like, okay, here we go, because we shop at Target for our toddler clothes, and those are like at most $15 an outfit. So I was like, let's see what they got in here. And they had Burberry, Fendi, Gucci, like all this stuff in toddler sizes. And I was just kind of thinking, oh, this is cute. And I looked at one of the Fendi shirts, and it was $180 for an 18-month-old. Here's the thing about the 18-month-old clothes. It goes from 18-month-old to 2-year-old. So you got 6 months. So let's put aside the fact that every child is a Tasmanian devil causing chaos and destruction, running through the mud and dirt and dropping food everywhere, and hell, half the time throwing food everywhere. So the clothes are going to get ruined. But if by some chance the clothes don't get all stained up, it's still going to grow out of them within 6 months. So you spend $180 on something for kids, and that wasn't even the most expensive one. They were like sweaters worth $300. Well, let me rephrase. They weren't worth $300, but they cost $300. They were worth about $20. So I'm telling my wife, I'm like, I want to talk to the woman that works here and just ask her, like, what are you thinking when people buy this stuff? Like, is it hard not to judge them? And my wife is like, oh no, they're buying into this 100% because they get the commission. So when people are walking through, they're like, hey, if you don't like the Burberry, let me show you the Fendi or whatever it's called. I don't even know half of the brands, which was also very interesting. I know Versace, I know Louis Vuitton, and I know Gucci. But then there were other ones that were just as expensive, and they weren't as recognizable to me. So it's like, why the hell are you even buying this stuff if the regular person can't see it and think to themselves, oh, these people are much better than me? So I had to get out of there. My daughter was starting to touch things, and I wasn't sure if she still had some kind of chocolate on her hands, and there's no way I was getting stuck with a $180 shirt because my daughter wiped her nose on something. So we head out of there. And then we went to a restaurant, and we met up with my friend Monica, and her family was there. Her mom has always been so supportive of me. She's Pam Nevy. She's just the sweetest lady in the world. And her brother, Moshwin, was there. Moshwin's cool. Moshwin's a real cool dude. He came out to my show and supported me in Dallas, brought his wife. They're pregnant. They're due in June. And we had Billy there. Now, look, Billy, for the most part, is, just a really well-behaved child compared to other ones. But she's still almost 2, so there are a little fits every now and then. And my wife and I are pretty good about, just kind of controlling that behavior, taking her for walks or whatever. So as soon as she would start fussing, we'd get up and go walk out of the restaurant and walk through the mall with her, and just kind of calming the storm or whatever. I'm not sure if this helped. They got a kid coming, and you're showing them that, hey, your life is over as you know it. His wife is already not sleeping well with, like most pregnant women, you start losing sleep around 7 months or whatever because you're uncomfortable. And then, it's like, so when the baby comes, at least you're prepared because you're never going to sleep again. And then they see what is considered a really wonderful kid acting like an asshole 25% of the time. So there's got to be a point where they're like, oh, I don't know if this is such a good idea. Fortunately for their baby, we live in Texas, so they couldn't get rid of it if they wanted to. After that, my wife left. Monica and I met up at the venue, and we got there, and I walked into the green room, and the manager for the club showed up and was like, hey, Monica, 30 ticket holders still haven't shown up yet, so we're going to delay the show a few minutes. And I was just like, this is amazing. Monica featured for me on the road a lot, and I've never been able to sell out a room, no matter what the size was. And so she was performing in their smaller room, which holds about 90 people, and the fact that she sold it out, it's so, like, I'm so proud And I'm so happy for her. Like, she figured out part of this business that I never could. I couldn't figure out the marketing. I couldn't figure out how to sell myself to get people to come to these shows. And she's hitting up all these smaller venues, but she's doing it right. You know, I mean, performing in a room that holds 90 people with 90 people sounds like you're performing in a room with 300 people. It's really amazing. We let our acquaintance Spencer O'Neill host for us. He did a really good job. Spencer's like one of my best friends. So it was good. It was like a Seattle reunion. It was really fun, and I did okay. I don't lie. They heard the set and they thought it was really good, but I know what I expect out of myself, and I did a few of those new jokes. The stuff about my daughter getting a scratch and wanting me to kiss it and make it better, and then finding out that I'd been wearing the wrong size shoes for 10 years, and a few other things. And then I have that closer that I'm doing now about how good I am. And I didn't do it because I felt like people would just be looking at me like, I thought, was he performing on the same show that we just saw? Because he can't claim this, you know. So, whatever. I had a good time. It was great performing with her. Didn't do as well. Okay, I'm gonna explain something. Sometimes as a comedian, you get in your own head, and that's what I did. I did that bad, and the reason why is I was wearing this gray polo shirt, and not like a Ralph Lauren polo shirt, just a polo style, and it fits me like a bag. It has no shape to it or whatever. I'm fat. I need to wear clothes that are going to be somewhat complimentary. And so I was just wearing it. It just looked like I hung a sheet over my body. And while we were eating lunch, we sat outside right next to the window. And I'm just looking over, and I'm seeing how fat and terrible I look. And I just couldn't get it out of my head. And I was just kind of like, okay, when I get there, I'll put a jacket on. But I had a denim jacket, and the damn shirt hung down like 4 inches past that, so then it just made it look even worse. So the whole time I'm up on stage, all I'm thinking about is what a fat piece of crap I am, and I can't get out of my way, my own way. I don't know, man. It's so weird. There are things that happen when you're on stage that you just can't get past. Maybe there's one person not laughing. The woman to my right with blonde hair sitting next to a guy. I was just looking at her the whole time. Someone has their arms crossed, which nobody did in this show or whatever. But I had this one woman that didn't approve, and I had this shirt on that all I could think was I look like crap. They're just thinking how terrible I look. And it definitely affected me. Now, it wasn't a professional way to perform, but it was a human way. So, lesson learned: wear nicer clothes. On the way home, I listened to. Let me preface this. I am a left-leaning moderate. I don't really want to say I'm a Democrat or a Republican, because there's some things on every side of it that I like, but I lean left. So on the way home, I was listening to right-wing AM talk radio. Now look, to get my news, I watch Face the Nation on Sundays on CBS. I think it's a pretty unbiased. I mean, unless you're watching Fox News or the OAN network or something like that, which is so far right. it's always going to be a little left-leaning. For the most part, most journalists are liberally minded, so when the woman on Face the Nation is interviewing people, you can kind of tell that she's left-leaning, but for the most part, it's just the story, not a lot of editorializing or opinion given, so it's just kind of straightforward. That's why, like, once a week, I watch the news on Sunday mornings. When I'm driving in my car, I like to listen to AM talk radio because it's entertaining. Every host on AM right-wing radio is an absolute character. I guess, was it Rush Limbaugh? He kind of created what this was going to be, and everyone just followed in his footsteps. They all sound like they're smoking cigars. They got a little rasp in their voice. It's always a man in his mid to late 50s, and he's just fed up with the way this country is. Can't understand how we've put these people in the White House, and it's a damn shame what they've done to this country. This guy, he was just really upset about the fact that Joe Biden had appointed Kamala Harris as his vice president. Which, I mean, we're 3 years into this. This is still bothering you? But okay, let's hear what you got to say. Here was his number one talking point. During the debates, Kamala Harris referred to Joe Biden as racist. She attacked his character and said that he was racist. In response to that, I guess someone was in the area and has put in a book that Dr. Jill Biden, she said, well, she can fucking go to hell, or she can kiss our fucking ass, or something like that, right? So they're very upset with her for saying that Biden's racist. And then he appoints her as the vice president. And this dude, what he couldn't understand was how someone who had been treated so negatively by their opponent, how they could possibly work with them. And I'm just thinking, dude, did you forget what Trump did to every candidate during the Republican debates? He straight up called Ted Cruz's wife ugly. And Ted Cruz was just like, yeah, I mean, look, she's not the hottest woman in the world, but she's the mother of my children. I mean, it's just crazy. It's so hypocritical for this guy to be like, you know, I don't know how the Democrats can do this. I mean, it's understandable how the Republicans could, but the Democrats, I don't get it. So it was a fun, you know, like 20 minutes, because the problem with AM radio is you can drive about 20 or 30 miles and then you lose that signal. You got to find another right-wing talk show to get you through the drive. So eventually I just turned it to a podcast and listened to that. But hey, if you want to have some fun and you're not going to get all heated up over what they're saying, tune into a little AM right-wing talk. It's a good time. I'd like to give everybody a little update on whether Lee and I are going to make it to San Antonio one of these days. A little relocation. So I've already got a few, like, I call them headhunters or recruits for these other companies, and they've reached out to me, and they've offered me jobs in Dallas and Waco. So that is reassuring, because now I know that what I did was right, in that I told Lee we would move here, but it didn't have to be our final destination. You know, I could come here, I could work in aviation for 2 years, and then start putting in for jobs in other places, because I had a 7-year gap on my resume. So the fact that I was able to get in here, that helped me be able to find employment later in a more desirable area. So it's clear that that part of it worked. Now, Dallas is a great city, but it's not near enough close to Austin. Waco is about an hour and a half. That's getting closer, but we'd be moving from a city with 100,000 people to one with 110,000 people. And then I'd want to live about 20 or 30 minutes south of Waco. It's just, it's not a good enough move. Plus, Chip and Joanna, they done raised the cost of living there. The housing market is ridiculous because they got their home makeover show there, and she's built the whole damn empire. You know, my wife is a pastry chef. Meanwhile, Joanna, she's selling cupcakes out of her kitchen window with the horse walking up to it. So it's just not a great spot for us. But those recruiters did tell me that there will be jobs opening up in San Antonio soon. They were like, well, we might have something in May. And I just thought, I said, yeah, look, I have a house, I have a job, I'm not in a rush. I want to be selective. You know, it's like look at my wife. I had plenty of opportunities to settle down, but I waited until I was 40 years old and I met the woman of my dreams. And I'm saying that because sometimes she watches this show. But it was worth the wait. You know, we got an amazing daughter. We have a really good life together, and ultimately, we just enjoy each other's company. If I'd have settled down any time before that, I'd probably be divorced by now with a kid that acts like an asshole most of the time because their parents didn't love each other. So I'm treating this job search like I'm treating my process for getting married and falling in love. I'm just going to wait till the right opportunity comes that I'm very, very sure of. And then one thing that happened that's really promising is my cousin, shout out Mike McCannon. We grew up together. We're 7 months apart. He's always been like my best friend. And just we joined the Marine Corps at the same time. We've just always been very close. He put me in touch with one of his old Marine Corps buddies, and that guy knows a guy that knows a guy, and it's in San Antonio. So he basically said, hey, email this person and then let me know when you've done it with your resume and submit to the job that you want. Let's see. You know, it's in a management position. I did that for 9 years. You know, I've only been back for 2 years, but I think with my previous experience, I can move into that position pretty comfortably, and then boom, I'm right where I want to be with a great job that's going to allow me to pursue the passions that I have. So, you know, I'll keep you updated on that San Antonio, Austin relocation as things keep moving forward. But right now, you know, we're in the garden shed and we're making it happen. So, you know, there. And the reason that I'm okay with this, the reason why I'm so zen about where I'm at in my life is because I've been going to therapy. Yes, I've been going to therapy. And you know what? I was doing it for probably 3 months and I'm fixed. I'm better. And it could be the meds that they put me on. It could be the therapy that they put me on. Or it could be the fact that I found out I was wearing the wrong size shoe for the last 10 years and now my feet don't hurt anymore. So I'm not sad. Ultimately, I want to say that it's the therapist. She's amazing. I just kind of lucked into getting her because I had a therapist for one session, and then when it came like time for my next session a month later or whatever, she retired. And they didn't tell me. So then I was scrambling trying to find somebody because I was going out of my mind. And then I looked up on this lady. And I will say this is going to be one of the things that sucks about moving is having to find another therapist, because it's so hard to find one that you're comfortable with, especially for a man, or really just any kind of introverted person that's not really open to crying in front of people, because that's what you got to do. You got to go in there and you got to tell them all of the crazy stuff that's going on in your head, and you got to be emotionally vulnerable and cry and get it out, so that when you walk out of that room, you feel a little bit of a cleanse over your soul and your heart. And I know, like, listening to old redneck like me that drives a Jeep Wrangler and has a mustache like this, that sounds just very contradictory to what I look and sound like. But guess what? I wish I would have started therapy in high school, man. There's just been so much stuff wrong with me for so long, and it took me a really long time to go, hey, you ain't a pussy just because you go get some help. You know, don't just cry in the shower because the water washes the tears away. Cry in front of a person that you don't feel judged in front of. And so that's what I did. I found this woman, and she's been amazing. And it's funny because she doesn't really lead me into anything. She just welcomes me into her office, tells me how happy she is to see me, and then lets me kind of just spew everything out. And this week was funny because it was such, you know, since the last time I'd seen her, everything's been going so good. I was, after like 10 minutes in the office, I was like, honestly, I don't know what to talk about because I'm pretty damn happy. And she was like, yeah, that happens sometimes. You can just tell me what you're happy about. So, you know, I talked about this show. I talked about you, the fans, the audience, and how much you mean to me, and how excited I get when one of you subscribes to my Patreon at patreon.com/Mitch Burrow. So all that is what's been going on with me. Again, it's a good time to be Mitch Burrow. You know, I feel really good about everything that's going on, and I'm excited about life and what it has to offer. And now, let's do the news. So I already did a story this weekend about Jonathan Majors. He's an actor that plays Kang the Conqueror in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. My dog just walked into the door and probably is showing a reflection on the thing. Come over here. Come over here. I'm not going to edit this out. It's just, this is what life is. So anyway, Jonathan Majors got arrested for assault. My co-host today is Duke. He's an asshole dog that I was told was a Labrador, but turns out he's what you call a cur. It's a hunting dog. You use curs with pit bulls to run and pin down boars so that then the pit bull can come in and grab onto it and hold it while the hunter comes in with a knife and kills the wild hog. It's a pretty barbaric way to hunt the hogs. You know, a lot of people just use AR-15s and just empty rounds into them and take care of them. That's really the only true need for an AR-15 in this country, if you ask me. But this dog, they're stubborn. He wants to be outside all the time. And he weighs about 80 pounds. And on top of all that, he also thinks he's a lap dog. So he's a lot. But my daughter absolutely loves him, and he just lets her do whatever she wants to. She crawls on top of him and everything. So what? He comes in to the studio, which is just a guard shed. I'm really loosely using the word studio here. But he comes in here and he makes a little noise and, you know, whatever. He's a good dog that just acts like an asshole a lot of times. So anyway, back to the news. Jonathan Majors plays Kane the Conqueror, plays the antagonist in the new Creed 3 movie. He was on HBO's Lovecraft Country. Rising star, amazing actor, and he got arrested for assault, strangulation, and harassment. And apparently it was his girlfriend. Just a lot of things going on. His team has replied back that she was being emotional. Which, you ever told your girlfriend to calm down? Or you ever told your wife to calm down? It never ends well. They're like, calm down. Why don't you fucking calm down? And then you're like, hey, I wasn't trying to upset you. Why are you, like, are you on your period or something? And then, you know. So that's basically what these lawyers did. They just said that she needed to calm down. Now, could that be true? Quite possibly. You know, we'll wait and see. They said there's video evidence that shows his side of the story. She's already recanted, and there's multiple witnesses that say it didn't happen the way that the news is initially reporting it. Fingers crossed, because I'm a huge Marvel fan, and I'm excited to see where Kang moves forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, hopefully, no matter what, Disney had a lot of movie to pay this woman off, so we can just keep going with the story. And if you know, if he did assault her, then I hope that he suffers the repercussions. But if he didn't, then I hope that for once, as a society, we cannot crucify somebody before the evidence comes out. And it's already started to happen, but you know, we'll just see what goes on. Earlier this week, there was another mass shooting. I say that. I could probably say earlier today, there was another mass shooting. It just keeps happening over and over and over. It's infuriating, especially as a parent, when you know you're sending your kids to school and that should be where they're going to learn and socialize and play with other kids, and instead, every time they leave the house, you got to wonder, is this the last time I'm going to see my child because some crazy person is going to kill him? This time, it was a trans male. Trans man. I think it was a woman who transitioned to a man. And that is all the right wing can focus on right now. That is all they're talking about. How, yeah, it was a woman who transitioned to a man, because the big thing is they're talking about he was receiving testosterone shots to help out that transition to being male appearing. And they're saying that those testosterone boosts are what messed up their hormonal balance and caused them to do this. But these are the same people who get upset whenever you bring up the fact that it's always a straight white male who's doing the shootings. So, you know, they finally got their little cherry picking argument. They finally got their one example of who is not a straight white male doing this, and they just want to latch onto it, you know? And it's just sad, because there's so much more other important things to talk about in this situation than the gender identity of the shooter. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I really enjoyed the M16A2 service rifle. So when I got out, I wanted to purchase an AR-17. I'm sorry, AR-15. Not a AK-17, AR-15. So I wanted to purchase an AR-15, and I also wanted to purchase a 1911 pistol. And I was living in South Carolina at the time, and I went to the gun store, and I said, I'd like to get those two things. How long would it take for me to do that? And they said, fill this paperwork out, we'll get it to you in about 20 minutes. And then 10 minutes later, they handed me the guns. Look, I like guns, and I think that's too easy. Also, I already talked about it. The AR-15 you know, it's got a 30-round magazine. Why do you need that? I know these are just talking points that you always hear from the left, but let's hear it from someone who's a moderate, someone who actually enjoys shooting guns, someone who grew up shooting guns, someone who goes hunting. I have a passion for the Second Amendment, but look, we don't allow people to have fully automatic weapons unless you have a federal license for it. I'm not saying everyone needs to be licensed to carry a gun. I mean, look, there are people who grow up in very rural areas who start shooting when they're like 12 years old. They learn how to go hunting. It's part of their culture and their lifestyle. But maybe there needs to be something done to ensure that the wrong people aren't getting guns. And honestly, I don't know what that is. I'm dumb. I don't claim to have the answers, but I do think that we should let the people who are smarter try and talk about this and figure it out, because I don't want my daughter getting killed. I saw a video where they were showing a teacher pulling out a safety room. It's just two big panels in the corner of the classroom, and then they pull it out, and all the students can go in there and lock themselves in the room. Why? Why is this what we have to do? Other countries haven't had this problem. You know, England had a mass shooting in the 1970s, and that's when they started, they enforced some really severe gun control laws, and now it doesn't happen anymore. And I know people want to say, look, if someone wants to kill somebody, they're going to do it, and that might be potentially true, but let's not make it as easy as possible for them to do it, okay? If you go to war, your enemy is going to kill as many people as possible, but you don't make it easy for them to do it, okay? So let's not make it easy for these crazy assholes to kill our kids, you know? I mean, it's crazy to me that this isn't something that we're taking care of. And obviously, after Uvalde, we can't count on the police to protect them, because it just turns out that they're all cowards. So I'm not trying to get all serious and preachy about it. I'm trying, as I'm talking, I'm trying to think of a decent joke to make, but it turns out there's nothing funny about children getting massacred. So let's stop making it a political thing. Look at it from a very moderate point of view. Yes, people should be able to have guns. No, children should not be getting massacred. How can we fix that? Rubber bullets. That's as good as I could come up with. And then the jet started flying over my head like we're about to kick off at the Super Bowl. So I'm going to take that as a win. Here's another great story that I read this week. Apparently, 2 convicts escaped a prison, and then they went to the IHOP. Which, honestly, I would have thought that was going to be more of a Waffle House move. It did happen in the South, so Waffle House is everywhere. And I just feel like the type of person that's escaping from prison really prefers a patty melt from the Waffle House instead of the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. I wouldn't have been surprised if they went to Denny's. You know, that would be reasonable, but they went to the IHOP. I think if I was in prison and I escaped, my first stop would be a Red Lobster. You know, because it just feels a little classier, and it's not that expensive. Although the one here in Wichita Falls, not the best food. To be fair, we live in the middle of the country, so it's not like we're getting the freshest seafood here anyway. But I mean, you know, cover that bland taste up with some salt or something. I don't know. I'm a regular dude. I know 2 seasons, salt and pepper. And unless I'm pulling out some Tony Chichiris or whatever it's called, there's not going to be a lot of spices and herbs in there. But yeah, good for these 2 guys. They got out, went and had some pancakes, and I assume they're back in jail now. But what a story to tell. Across the pond, over in Europe, Berlin is allowing everyone to go topless now, which is very exciting. And you can tell by looking at the men. I think it's great. I don't know why women have to cover their breasts all the time. I don't think it's fair. If it were up to me, every woman would be walking around topless, just feeling free and comfortable with her beautiful, perky breasts exposed to the world for everyone to see and look at respectfully, and certainly not take pictures of to look at later in the privacy of their own home. I don't know why, look, I don't like going topless at the swimming pool, so I don't know why it's such a big deal. Maybe they're just, they want to avoid tan lines, or, in case there's a life jacket not available, they have their own flotation devices. But whatever, man. More titties is more titties, so I'm all for it. Good job, Berlin. I booked my flight there earlier today. And I can't wait to go swimming. Indiana recently passed a bill to ban gender-affirming care for people under 18 years old. So this kind of goes back to that school shooter, right? They're saying that if we give these people under 18 hormone treatment, it's going to mess them up for life. Now, scientists say that if you go on hormone treatment before you hit puberty, once you get to a point where you're like, hey, I decided this isn't what I want to do, and they remove you from the hormone blockers, you will just go through puberty. And look, I'll tell you, I didn't go through puberty until I was about 23 years old anyway. It wasn't that bad. I don't know why I was such a late bloomer. The good part was, the whole time I was in the Marine Corps, didn't have to worry about shaving. So that's fine. Showers during boot camp were a little uncomfortable. The drill instructor's always asking me if I'm shaving my testicles during the shower time, and I'm just like, man, I just don't have any hair on my balls. But look, gender affirming care is just as much about preventing girls who are transitioning to boys from developing breasts as it's also about preventing mental health issues. If someone's having that big of a crisis where they think they're a different or they know, or like, look, just don't cancel me because I'm trying here. I'm an ally. I'm an ignorant ally, okay? But if they're that sure, then going through puberty and hitting these certain stages in their physical development is probably going to mess them up even more. And then when they get older, they decide to do a top surgery and have their breasts removed, and then they have the scars and everything. That can affect how they feel about themselves as well. Now, look, I personally don't necessarily agree that a 14-year-old really knows who they are. So there is a part of me that's like, yeah, they shouldn't be able to do this until they're over 18. A kid can tell you that they're a unicorn. You're not going to take them to the doctor to have a horn sewn onto the top of their head. You're going to tell them that, well, that's cute, but when you get older, you realize you're more of a jackass. So, yeah, I don't know. Doctors at Johns Hopkins or whatever, they, I think, wouldn't do it. And then all these other professional doctors are saying that it's really important for the mental health of these children, because that's what they are. I'll just say it, for these children growing up. I wish it wasn't something that people had to actually go through. I wish that everyone could just be happy with who they are, and all they needed was a better polo shirt to feel good about themselves. But that's not what the world is that we live in. People are experiencing things that are a lot worse than what you and I are going through, and they need help. So if they're not getting the gender affirming care that they need, I hope that at least the state is offering some sort of mental health care provided to them, because life sucks, man, and not everyone has the opportunity to have an insurance holder that they can go and see a therapist and feel better about themselves after 3 months just really nailing that therapy. They go through life and they're depressed and then they kill themselves. So I hope that something is worked out for them, because these kids, they don't need to grow up hating themselves. So it's interesting that the state is banning health care of a type, but then elsewhere, OSHA found 107 kids under the age of 18 working in meatpacking plants, cleaning dangerous equipment with dangerous chemicals. And I really was interested in this story, but I got to tell you, searching little boys in meatpacking was a really sketchy Google search. I didn't want the FBI coming and confiscating my computer later, so I was just trying to find a link on Reddit, and I did. This is a tough one to be very critical about, because as a young preteen teenager growing up in rural Georgia, one of the best jobs that you could work was cleaning out chicken coops. And that chicken, whatever, their poop, it's poop and urine mixed together, and it sits in those chicken houses and it turns into like ammonia, and you can't breathe when you walk in there, and it sucks, but you get paid good. It's the first time that you're making money. So, this is what these kids are doing. You work construction jobs as a teenager, you work, and it's all, more money than you've ever had in your life, so you're like, cool. But the problem with this is most of these kids, if not all of them, are undocumented immigrants to the country. And they're kind of like held hostage in this situation, because they're being given the opportunity to work, but then if they find that the work conditions aren't favorable to them, it's not like they can quit and go get another job. The thing that I find most interesting about the border is it's mostly right-wing people who want to shut it down. But then when you find who is benefiting from undocumented workers coming into the states, it's going to be right-wing people. It's going to be farmers and people who are going to use day laborers and pay them under the table to work for them. And if you're a Republican, that should also bother you, because the amount of money that comes out of our economy and then goes to Central and South American countries without us receiving any tax on it is astronomical. These undocumented workers come over, they get this money, and then they send it to their families. And there's nothing coming out of a paycheck. There's nothing getting put into Social Security. Nothing getting put into rebuilding our infrastructures. So all these right-wing farmers and blue collar employers who are hiring these people, they're just contributing to the thing that they don't like the most. So you would think that they would be like, okay, let's get people over here. Let's pay them a fair wage, and let's raise the value of our society together. But they're not doing that. So yeah, I don't know. Like 18 kids under 18 shouldn't be working in a facility like that unless they really want to. You know, no one forced me to work in a chicken coop or on top of a barn nailing hot tin down and hitting my thumb with a hammer and getting a huge blood blister on my thumb and quitting the next day because, oh man, when that thing popped and the blood shot in my face, it was just like, this is not the work for me. I should do a podcast. And this was 1997. I didn't even know what podcasts were, but I knew I needed to do something. So, you know, we're going to end it on one more little political thing here. And just to be fair, I'm going Republican this time, okay? Right now, Democrats are in the White House. And to be honest, most Democrats ain't really happy with the job that Joe Biden's doing. So more than likely, we won't have a Democrat president in 2024. With that being said, Trump's trying to come back. Good Lord, I hope it doesn't happen. Ron DeSantis is campaigning, and he's going up against him. So Ron DeSantis already has a pretty good following on the right. What he really needs is to bring in younger voters and people on the left to support him as well, to realize that he's not a bad guy, that he's conservative, but he's here for the people. And I think what he's got to do is end this ban on TikTok, okay? Ron DeSantis has to come out and go, hey, I know that it originated from a company in communist China, but it's here in the United States now, and Mitch Burrow has over 30,000 followers on TikTok. We cannot take this social media platform away, or it could ruin Mitch's chance of eventually getting out of aviation and working in the entertainment industry full-time, full stop. Then he's got my vote. You know what else? Currently, if they do ban TikTok, and I have to stay working in aviation, and I have to stay working where I'm at, there's one person ahead of me on first shift. I'm currently working second shift, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. It takes away everything that I have as far as a social life. This person, if this spot opens up, he needs to retire or die. I don't want anybody to die, regardless of how beneficial it is for me. So I need him to retire. And I was talking to him. I said, hey, man, you know, life, you ain't going to live forever. You want to keep coming in here and doing this stuff? When you going to retire? And he said, oh, yeah, I definitely ain't going to be able to retire as long as those damn baby-killing liberals is in the White House. And I said, so if a Republican wins the presidential election, you're going to retire? And he was like, yeah, I'll probably be able to sleep at night if we get a Republican back in the White House. And I said, all right, man, they got my vote. If I can get you out of here, I will vote Republican just so you'll retire. It'll be hard to sleep at night, but at least I'll be sleeping at night because I'll be working during the day. All right, everybody, that is it for this week's episode of the Mitch Burrow Show. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you enjoy the content that I'm putting out, like, subscribe, comment, and subscribe to the Patreon. There's 4 different tiers, $5, $10, $15, and $20. Every little bit helps. I'd love to get something to plug this microphone into. So, just, for the cost of a cup of coffee, a venti latte, whatever, Americano drip. No, Americano's not drip. Americano with cream. Whatever it is, that's once a month you're giving it to me to help make this show and the other stuff that I'm doing even better. So thank you all, and I'll see you later this week with our special Patreon episode that only the patrons get to see.